What's cracking, everybody? Benji Bruce here with Speaking Lifestyle, and we are going to get going. I'm going to wait a couple seconds, maybe refresh this thing and follow along with everybody. All right, so let's do this. Let's see. All right, I'll wait a few seconds, wait for the millions and millions of people to join this live stream, or the billions and billions of people to join the live stream. So I'm going to wait a few seconds, but today we are going to talk about basically just selling your expertise for a lot of money. So you have something to offer the world, and now you want to make money off of it. So how do you sell your expertise for a lot of money? All right, let's see. Amy's here. All right, ready to hear gold. All right, you will hear. I will sprinkle some gold, that gold dust, that platinum dust. I'm going to be sprinkling some gold and platinum all over today's Facebook Live. So how's it going, Amy? Some other people are hopping on. All right. So yeah, we're basically going to talk about how to build and monetize an audience, and then how to just make a ton of money selling your expertise. A lot of people, whether speakers or real estate agents or anyone, a lot of people just want to know how to just build their audience and just make money from that audience. And so that's essentially what we're going to go over today. All right. What's up, Marissa? How's it going, Marissa? All right. Let's see, Dorothy. I like the billions and billions of people. Billions and billions of people are on this Facebook Live, and that's just how I roll. I just attract billions and billions of people. All right, so let's see. All right, so essentially, I want to go over a few things. I do want to point out that even though I'm going to talk about building and monetizing an audience, the reason why I don't really like saying those words is because everyone thinks building like an Instagram following, or just building a following, building Twitter followers, or being the influencer, stuff like that, right? And as you guys know, if you guys have been following me for a little bit, you know that I absolutely hate it when people talk about building a following, because it's not about building a following. It's about building a freaking business. Forget about Instagram followers. You want a freaking business, not the followers, right? So that's why I hate using building and monetizing an audience, but it's one of the reasons why I use it, just because people understand what I'm talking about. What's up, Michael? Michael Ross. All right. So essentially, I do want to mention in the beginning, when you're building and monetizing an audience, or when you're selling your expertise, the first thing that you have to pay attention to is essentially the intangibles. The intangibles are essentially things like creating momentum, consistency, like the mindset type of stuff. Those are the intangibles. Those are the important parts, but those are also the parts that nobody really pays attention to all that much, like especially momentum, right? So like little things in terms of where people talk about being consistent. I have a friend where he started this blog a long time ago, a leadership blog, and I told him, I was like, here's what's going to happen. And I said, you got to be prepared for this, because here's what's going to happen. I see this with everybody. In the beginning, you get excited. You're like, all right, I'm going to start selling my expertise, building my audience. I'm going to do this blog thing, create some YouTube videos and all. You get excited, right? You create a video or write a blog post or whatever. You start doing a little bit. Then you don't get the result immediately. So a lot of people don't watch your Facebook Live. Unlike mine, where I have like 1 billion people watching this, a lot of people don't watch Facebook Live, or they don't watch your video. You see, there's only one comment on the video, if that, and then only 20 people watch the video, right? So that's what happens. Then you see that, and then you think, okay, all right, I know it's going to take time. Well, let me do another one. So you produce another one. You create another video, another Facebook Live, whatever. Same thing happens. Nobody watches. Nobody comments. Nobody cares. And then you're like, maybe at this point, maybe you're like, all right, I get it. Maybe I'll do another one. I'll do another one. But what's slowly happening is you're getting demotivated, because you don't see the end result. Like, you don't see anything happening. You don't see more people watching, more people commenting, nothing. So you don't see the end result. And naturally, you slow down. Instead of doing one every week, you now do one every 2 weeks, or one every month, or then you just quit altogether because you just didn't see the end result. I warned my friend of this. I said, that's what's going to happen. And I mean, he laughed about it. Like, we laughed. I was like, yeah, nobody's going to care in the beginning in terms of watching your videos. And then he stopped, just like how I predicted. He stopped. And just recently, I talked with him 2 days ago. He started again. So there was like, I don't know, maybe a 4 or 5 month lag time. And that's essentially what happens with a lot of people when you're not prepared mentally for what's going to happen. And so this is why I talk about the intangibles first, because the intangibles, you have to focus on that momentum. You got to build that momentum, create that consistency where you're just naturally doing the things over and over and over, and you're creating that whole consistency. So I do want to mention that to begin with. All right, let's see. Pam said, Pam, the teaching CSI. All right, cool. Pam's here. Rocco's here. Cool. All right, so just understand that to begin with. If you guys want to go watch a video or listen to a podcast where I talk about building momentum, type in building momentum into YouTube, or Speaking Lifestyle building momentum, or Benji Bruce building momentum into YouTube. You'll see the video where I talk about that sort of stuff. That's probably like one of the most important things, is building the momentum, because you just get into this mindset of, all right, let's go, let's do it every single day type thing. And just do that, right? So if you're going to build and monetize an audience, make sure you're focusing on actually building a real business, not just building Instagram followers or something like that. Build a real business. It's better to have $1 million instead of 1 million followers. So make sure you're building a real business. And then you want to focus on the right market and the right niche. All right. This is where I talk about, even like with speakers, where when you're trying to be a motivational speaker, you got to focus on, all right, it doesn't really matter what your topic is. The only thing that matters is, all right, what's the market? What do they pay for? This is like insanely important. What's the market? What do they pay for? You have to say, are people buying anything? And what I essentially did is I thought, is there a gap? All right. So you think, is there a gap inside of this market? If your market is sales training, you think, where's the gap inside of this market? Now, you can think in terms of, just sit down and think about it, or you can use your emotion, your intuition, and think, what pisses you off? And that's what I actually did. I didn't think about it as I did it. I kind of just literally today I sat down and I said, wow, when I started Speaking Lifestyle, literally the reason why I started it is because I was pissed off at the stupid speaker training that was out there. I would look up the speaker training, all the other speaker training, and I said, this is ridiculous. These guys are putting out crap, like absolute crap. Get referrals, word of mouth, produce content, and poof, you'll now be the greatest speaker and have a full-time speaking business. I'm like, this is absolute crap. Like, what the heck? And so it actually pissed me off. So I said, look, man, I'm going to show people how to really do it. Like, this is how you actually get business. And that's why I started. So if you're actually trying to build your audience, you got to think in terms of the gap is probably going to be where you're pissed off at. So if you're a sales trainer, right, and you see all the sales training, you're like, you know what? All this sales training stuff, the thing that pisses me off is that nobody talks about this, or nobody does this. Another example is like with webinars, right? So when I would watch webinars of people training whatever they're talking about in webinars, what pissed me off was the fact that people would go on and on about themselves for 30 freaking minutes. They're like, all right, guys, today we're going to talk about how to build and monetize an audience. But before we get to that, I'm going to show you guys these 3 things. And before we get to that, let me tell you a little bit about my story. I was born in an old farm. And when we were born in the old farm, there was nothing there. I mean, I had absolutely no money. We barely had any food to eat. We had to literally take the milk from the cows, and that was our food for all day, for 24 days. I mean, just the milk, it was so bad. And then eventually I realized I got to change. I got to do something different. And then all of a sudden I started learning how to build and monetize an audience, and poof, I'm a multi-gazillionaire. And I just got pissed off watching webinars where people would do that. I was absolutely bored. I said, this is freaking stupid. And so what I did, I just stopped doing that. I just didn't do that. If you watch any of my webinars, you'll see maybe I'll talk about myself for not even 5 minutes, but I just tell people, just Google me. I'm like, just Google me. And you're essentially thinking, where am I pissed off at? That's what you're going to implement inside of your business as you're building and monetizing your audience. Because if you're pissed off at it, other people notice it as well. So when I started doing that and I started getting very direct in terms of the advice I was given, I got so many emails from people who would say like, dude, I love how direct you are, how straight to the point you are, things like that. So that's essentially you're going to find a lot of your secrets are going to be built from you getting pissed off. Like when you're pissed off at the advice that sucks, you're pissed off at these dummies doing webinars talking about themselves for 30 minutes. So that's essentially where you're going to like find some really gold advice in what it is you're doing. All right. So, all right, Dorothy said, that's great. I won't make that mistake. Cool, cool. All right. So just start out with that. So when you focus on the right market and the right niche, you're essentially thinking like, is there a gap? Is there something that pisses you off? And then you're thinking, you also need to think in terms of, you don't need to create something new. You can just outmarket other people. So like, I didn't create speaker training. I didn't create the thing. I didn't create public speaking. All you got to do is think, well, how can I outmarket these people? The same goes with like sales training, right? Like the guy Grant Cardone, the top sales trainer right there right now. And so he didn't create sales training. It's been around forever. He simply outmarketed all the other guys, Brian Tracy, all these other sales training gurus. He just outmarketed them like nothing. I mean, he was like, get off my shoulder, right? So that's the same thing, to where you say, all right, here's what we're going to sell. We're just going to do it better. Amazon did the same thing. You got Barnes and Nobles and Borders selling books. Amazon's like, you know what? We're going to sell books too. It's nothing new. We're just going to do it better and put them out of business. So that's kind of what you're doing in the beginning when you're focusing on building that audience and focusing on the right market and the right niche. That's what you're doing. Then what you want to do when you're building that audience is you want to think with three things. Think, how do I capture attention? How do I keep the attention? And how do I convert the attention? So capture, keep, and convert. That's what I think about all the time. If you do those three things, you can build $1 million business selling your expertise. So you think, how do I become visible? And how do you keep that attention long enough to where they actually trust you? And how do you convert that attention into a sale? That's essentially what I'm thinking about when I'm actually building, the audience and selling expertise, right? So in order to build, and this is what a lot of people won't tell you, to build and basically capture attention, you have to spend money. I've said this in other videos where I basically said what changed it for me was the fact that I spent money. A lot of people talk about creating content. You can create all the content you want in the world. Nobody's going to hear about it. Nobody's going to care about it until maybe a year later when that SEO starts kicking in. And so if you pay for it, if you pay for advertising, you learn faster, and everything just goes faster. You build up faster. Everything about it is just a million times better. A lot of people are afraid to spend money because they're afraid they're going to lose the money. And in the beginning, you probably will lose the money. It's like when I did Google Ads in the beginning to sell myself as an entertainer and as a speaker. I spent money on Google AdWords. I lost it all. And I say, you know what? Let me try it again. I spent money again, lost it all. I spent money like 4 or 5 times in a row, just kept losing it. Literally, I didn't get a single gig. I spent a couple $1,000s, just lost it all, and I didn't make any money. And it wasn't until I kind of sat down, got more information about how it worked, that it started to work. So in the beginning, you have to be prepared to lose money. And you're losing money in terms of just learning how to get it to work. This is why everyone keeps telling you, you keep hearing about, get a mentor, get a mentor, get a mentor. Because what that mentor does is he says, look, I know you're going to try these 10 things. Only do these 2 things. Because if you do these other 8 things, you're going to waste a lot of money and waste a lot of time. That's essentially what a mentor does for you. So it's like information and implementation. Those are the 2 things you want to spend money on, is information. So how do I get better at ads or Google ads or Facebook ads or videos or whatever? How do I get better at something? That's information. Then implementation. All right, now that I know how to do Facebook ads, now I'm going to spend money on Facebook ads. Now that I know how to do videos, I'm going to spend money on a really good camera and start doing videos or something, right? So you're thinking information and implementation. That's what you spend your money on. But I can't stress it enough. If you want to capture attention, if you want to build your audience, you will have to spend money. If you refuse to spend money on your business, you do not have a business, and you will not have a business either. It just absolutely amazes me at how many people refuse to spend money on their business. Like, absolutely amazes me. And so you have to think, I got to spend money. But the way you're thinking really is more of, it's more like an investment, really. So it's like Dave Davlin from Speak Pro Academy. So he could have easily said, you know what, I'm going to pay a couple grand to join this thing, and that's a lot of money to spend. But he made in a year since joining the Speak Pro Academy, he did almost $250,000. So he could have said, you know what, a couple grand, that's a lot of money to spend, versus saying, you know what, I made damn near $250,000, so a couple grand was nothing, right? So it's the same thing when you're spending money on anything. If you spend money on that thing and it doesn't work, or you don't get it to work, then sure, you're out that money. You lost 2 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, or whatever. If it does work, you made $250,000, you made $1 million, you made $10 million, right? So you have to get out of this mindset of not spending money. You have to spend money. All right, so just keep that in mind. So you capture the attention, then you got to keep the attention, all right? So keeping the attention is the hardest part. Capturing attention is easy. You simply spend money on a Facebook ad, on a YouTube ad, on a Google ad. Bam, you got their attention, right? It's easy to do that. To keep the attention, that's the hard part. To keep the attention, this is where I tell people that you want to build a business that's hard to duplicate. It's really easy to duplicate things nowadays. Like it's easy to look at someone's website and literally just duplicate the thing. It's hella easy. It's easy to duplicate a video, to create like a parody video or something. All that stuff is easy. You want to think in terms of, what can I build that's going to be really hard for someone to duplicate, even if they literally enter the same space as me? And so think about it in terms of like, Amazon's a perfect example, actually. Amazon and Walmart are going head to head, right? So they're fighting, they're battling. Amazon can destroy Walmart because it's harder for Walmart to duplicate what Amazon's doing, whereas Amazon, it's easier for them to duplicate what Walmart's doing. Because Walmart needs to learn about technology. Walmart they're getting destroyed by Amazon's technology. Amazon makes it so easy to buy, all sorts of stuff. Walmart, it's hard for them to duplicate the technology aspect. Amazon, on the other hand, they just have to learn the retail side. They just have to learn, let's just buy a freaking big-ass warehouse, which they already do. They already know how to run a warehouse and stuff like that. So now they're just thinking we just have to kind of duplicate a little bit of what Amazon's doing. And so it's really easy for them to do that. Facebook did a perfect example with Instagram and Snapchat. Snapchat built their business of, let's do a few seconds of these stories. And after Zuckerberg couldn't buy Snapchat, he said, you know what, Instagram, copy these guys. And they just copied them, and now Snapchat's getting destroyed, right? So you got to think in terms of, if you're going to build up your audience and build up your expertise, you got to think, how can I do this in a way that's going to be hard to duplicate? And a way to do that is through your personality. All right, that's the easiest way to do it. In fact, I don't want to say it's the only way to do it, but that's the easiest way to do it, because nobody can duplicate you. They can try, but they can't duplicate you. Like, when I thought about it, I say, you know what? Nobody's Benji Bruce, wearing purple all the time, so sexy, so brilliant. Nobody can duplicate me. And so that's kind of what you want to do when you're building up your audience. You want to think in terms of, how do I create an on TV or TV personality? How do I create that personality in a way that's hard for others to duplicate? So even if they talk about the same things that I talk about, it's still hard for people to it's hard for other people to duplicate, and it's hard for other people to pay attention to them because they're much more interested in me, type thing. So that's kind of what you're thinking about if you want to keep people's attention. And if you're going to keep people's attention, I kind of mentioned this a little earlier, but if you're going to pick a niche, what you're essentially going to do is, to keep that attention, you want to put a twist on that niche, right? So you're using your personality to keep attention, and you're putting a twist on that niche so that way the attention is natural. And what I mean by that is, for example, I told my brother, he's like a fitness guy. And I told him, I was like, if you look at all these fitness people, everyone's saying the same thing, doing the same things. So what I would essentially do is I would come out with a product, and I would be the fitness guru for entrepreneurs, for business people. And if you're going to do that, then what you have to do is, entrepreneurs, they don't want to spend 2 hours in a gym. So you got to think, how can an entrepreneur get everything they need within 20 minutes? All right. Ideally, if it could be 20 minutes, spending time in the gym for 20 minutes 2 days a week or something like that. If you could do that and the entrepreneur could stay fit, that's the type of product that they want, right? Because they're focused on time, right? So I told them, like, you got to essentially find that gap in the niche, and you put that twist on it. And just doing that natural twist will naturally keep people's attention. So if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm looking for a fitness guru, and I see a regular fitness guru, and I see the guy who's like, hey, I'm the guy for the entrepreneurs who we're not going to be in the gym for 2 hours or even an hour. We're just going to get straight to it. We're just going to get the pump up, and bam, you're going to have plenty of energy. You're going to build muscles, stay fit. You're going to be good to go after 20 minutes every other day or something like that, right? And so that's kind of what you're doing to keep the attention. Then you got to think in terms of converting the attention, all right? Converting the attention is a lot harder than most people think. So capturing attention is easy. You pay for an ad. Keeping the attention is harder. You got to have personality or something. All right, keeping the attention is harder. Then converting the attention is the hardest part. Mostly because people just don't believe you, right? People like, you can say, hey, man, I've got the cure to cancer. People are like, yeah, right, get out of my face. So nobody believes what you say. So if you're going to convert the attention, when you're selling your expertise, first you have to think about the offer. So you're like, is this something they even want? Like, I mean, you can sit there, you can talk all you want about something you're selling, but is it something they even want to buy? Because if it's not something they want to buy, then it doesn't matter what you do, right? It doesn't matter what your personality is or anything. So you got to think, is this something that people even want? If it is, then obviously it's easier to sell. But in order to keep selling your product or your coaching or consulting, whatever, you think, is this something people want? And you keep changing that thing until it is the thing that they desperately ask for. In the beginning, it is impossible to figure it out. Like, in the beginning, you can't just say, all right, I know people want this. You just can't do it. You just can't. In the beginning, you say, I'm pretty sure they want this. And even if you know a lot about the industry, you can still be wrong. So you have to open yourself up to being wrong. And even if you know what they want, you may not be describing it right. I did this a while ago, like even with Speaking Lifestyle. I did it with Speaking Lifestyle to where the very first program that I created was essentially like it was like a lead gen program to where I said, here are different ways to generate leads as a speaker. Because I'm thinking, you know what? Every speaker wants leads. They want to, like, how do I get on stages, right? And so I thought every speaker wants leads. Everyone in every business wants leads. And so I said, all right, here's the program. Nobody bought the thing. I was like, what the heck? Like, this makes no sense. Why is nobody buying this thing? What the heck? I said, the only explanation that I had for why people weren't buying is because I figured they just thought I was too pretty. They were like, no, people just think I'm too pretty. They're just like, no, dude's too pretty. I'm just not going to buy it. I couldn't figure out why people didn't buy the thing, right? And so then I started doing other stuff. I was like, you know what? Let me create other products or whatever, sold and all that. Then I went back and I looked at this thing. I said, speakers really do want to get on stages. Why didn't this thing sell? And then I created Event Finder, right? Event Finder, I just described it better. That's all I did. It was the thing that everyone wanted. I just didn't describe it right the first time. So as I started actually putting out content, reading emails people were sending, I just naturally got the words people use to describe what they wanted. So I now updated the product. And then, bam, I said, all right, here you go. So that's essentially how you're kind of figuring out your offer. Like in the beginning, you make a guess. You start producing content, start doing ads and doing the whole shebang. And then what's going to happen is you'll get a response from people. People will start liking your videos. They'll comment on your videos. They'll reply to emails, all sorts of stuff. Then you're paying attention, and now you start positioning your product in a way that they communicate that to you. So that's essentially what you're doing in order to actually convert. And then the biggest conversion thing ever, like the biggest way, the absolute best way to convert is this one thing. If you do this one thing, you will convert more than everybody in your industry. Absolutely everybody. Tell them you know Benji Bruce. No, I'm just kidding. The one thing is social proof, okay? So in the beginning, people are always asking, no matter what, when they buy things, they're asking a couple of questions. They're asking like, did this work for you? Did this work for other people? Is this going to work for me? Okay. And so in order to communicate that, you have to provide social proof. And the best way I can think about describing social proof is it's like making an ex jealous. So you're trying to make someone jealous. You're like, look at what this person did. Don't you wish you were there? And so like that's kind of what you're doing with social proof. Like it's one of the reasons why I talk about Dave all the time, why I'm talking about like Betsy, all these people, where I essentially say like, look, Dave in a year did almost $250,000. Like after joining the Speak Pro Academy and implementing, all right, he did almost $250,000. And what that's essentially saying to people is like, wow, how did he do that? Like what? How did he do $250,000? Like what? And so people are thinking about all these things. They're like, man, I can do that too, right? And so just having one is not enough. If you have several of them, if you're like, look, here's what Betsy did. Look, Bob did 10K. Look, he did a 10K gig. George, you got another 10K gig. Bam. And you're posting all this social proof. You're thinking, how do I make people feel jealous for not buying what I'm selling? That's what you're really thinking about, is how do I make them jealous for not buying what I'm selling? D said hello. Hello, D. All right. So that's really the number one thing. I did this with entertainment, with speaking, to where I created all those video testimonials. By creating the video testimonials, what I was communicating to the meeting planner is like, hey, when you hire me, you're going to get this reaction. Did you see the Remax lady? She flipped out. That's what's going to happen when you hire me. Did you see Aflac? The guy was like standing ovation, shock and awe of Benji Bruce. That's what you're going to get when you hire me. And having one doesn't do it. Having a ton essentially says like, hey, you are literally a dummy for not investing. That's literally what you're trying to communicate to people. That's not what you say, but that's what you're trying to communicate. It's, imagine if you had the cure to cancer in a pill, and you said to someone like, hey, here's the cure to cancer. They're not going to believe you. You're like, sure, right, sure. If you had the cure, then it'd be all over the news and everything, sure. So they wouldn't believe you at all. On the other hand, if you said, all right, here's the cure to cancer. Now all of a sudden they hear from the news everywhere, oh my goodness, this guy Benji Bruce has a cure to cancer. And they're hearing everywhere from everybody, the cure to cancer. Oh my goodness, so-and-so got cured. Oh my goodness, this person's cured. Oh my goodness, he just cured half of the world. Well, now you instantly believe it. Now you're like, I got to get this thing. Well, if you have cancer, you're like, I got to get this thing, right? So that's essentially, I can't stress social proof enough. The best way I can describe it is think, how can I make the people who don't buy jealous? All right, that's essentially what you're thinking about. How can I get people results in a way where everyone who didn't join is going to feel like a dummy for not joining? I kid you not, that is literally what I think about. I say, all right, everyone who didn't join the Speak Pro Academy, like, you know what? Everyone who's inside the Speak Pro Academy, I'm gonna make them like Dave, to where they're gonna do like damn near $250,000. I'm be like, what's wrong with you, dummy? Why didn't you join, dummy? I kid you not, that's literally what I think about. Probably shouldn't be saying that, but that's literally what I think about. Is like, how do I make people feel insanely jealous for not joining? So remember, capture attention, keep the attention, convert the attention. That's essentially what you're thinking about. And I do want to point out that you figure this out by not planning, but by moving. Okay. A lot of people sit down and they plan. They're sitting down and they're thinking like, okay, I can do Facebook ads, I can do YouTube ads, I can create content, and they're planning too much. And because they're planning too much, they're not actually selling their expertise. They're not really building up an audience. They're not doing anything. They're thinking 100 steps ahead when they haven't even like figured out step one. I literally just watched a video on Instagram today. It was a Facebook Live from these other people, and it was a call. Some dude called up, and he said, like, yeah, I want to generate some more sales for my business. I want to, like, do this whole business thing. And he said, what did he say? He was like, he's like, yeah, and I got a website, but I'm wondering, like, should I do Facebook ads? Should I do YouTube ads? I mean, should I create content? Should I do this? And the guy, he was like, all right, so what's your website? And he was like, well, I got it, but it's not up yet. And he was like, so you don't have a website, you got a domain. And he's like, yeah, I guess, but I'm wondering, like, should I do Facebook ads or what? And the guy, he says, well, first, put up your freaking website. And that's what happens with a lot of people, is they they think way too far ahead when they haven't even done the first part. They haven't even done the first thing. So you got to stop planning so much and start actually moving towards the thing that you want to accomplish. All right. Okay, and by the way, if you have any questions, make sure you ask some questions as well in terms of just building and monetizing an audience. So you figure it out by moving forward instead of just planning. And what happens when you do this, here's essentially what I'm doing, all right? So when I send out an email, what I noticed a while ago, I wish I would have done this a while ago. I didn't think about it at the time. But when I send out an email, what happens is one of two things. Well, three things technically. Either nobody replies, like nobody says anything, or two, people reply saying that's a great email, love it, you're the greatest in the world, you're beautiful, or people reply, or people buy, all right? People buy something. So when people buy something, when people do these two things, when they reply and when they buy, I mark it in the actual Google document. So I use Google Docs to write all my emails. So I mark it inside of Google Docs, and I put this asterisk or however you say that thing, that star thing, majigger. So I put that next to the email, and I say got sales or got replies or something like that, okay? And I do that because when I come back to it later on and I'm writing out maybe my automations or something, I want the best emails in this automation. I want the emails that generated sales. I want the emails that generated replies. I want those in the automation. So what I'm essentially doing is I've figured all of this out in terms of what are the best emails. I figured that out by doing, not by planning. Most people, they can say, all right, let me figure out my funnel. I'm going to write, I need 7 emails for this funnel. So let me write out the best emails possible. And that's what they do. They're like, all right, let me write out the best emails. Bam. All right, good. I got my automation ready to go. That's impossible to do. What you do is you say, okay, here's the automation or here's the funnel. And you say, all right, I'm going to write out 7 emails, the best I can right now, but I'm going to replace those emails as soon as freaking possible with better emails that I know through time because I sent out broadcast emails that generated sales. That's kind of what you're doing. That's how you figure it out as you go. So let's see. Clark said, Benji, for the Speak Pro members, when will you have a walkthrough session on building your website? So the one for building the website is going to be, it's going to be in the beginning of June. Yeah. So in the beginning of June. So it's essentially 2 weeks from now is when we're going to do that. So we're going to do a boot camp with the website. What was I saying? So, all right. So capture attention, keep attention, convert the attention. You figure things out by moving forward, by actually doing things. And this is where little things naturally start to happen. So you're selling your expertise. Let's say you created a program, a consulting or coaching program, whatever it is, an online program, whatever it is. In the beginning, you're going to do your best in terms of writing out a sales page, in terms of writing out emails, all this stuff to sell it, right? In the beginning, that's going to suck. Like your sales page is going to suck, your emails are going to suck, all that. As you do things, you're going to start to learn, all right, here are the questions people ask. Now let me include that on the sales page, right? These are things that you absolutely will not be able to figure out in the beginning. Like, for example, with Event Finder, right? So when I created Event Finder, what happened was people would send me questions like, will this work in my country? Or really not just Event Finder, just stuff in general. People would say like, hey, does this thing work in my country? Like, I don't live in the U.S. I live in Canada. I'm in the U.K. I'm in Australia. I'm in wherever, Mexico or something. Like, does it work here? In my mind, I was like, that's a stupid question. Like, what you talking about? Does it work in your country? That's a stupid question. I was like, all it is, you're just contacting someone. That's like saying just picking up the phone and calling someone work. And so, like, in my mind, I was thinking that's a stupid question. But as people asked the question more and more, I was like, maybe it's not a stupid question. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's a reason why people are asking this question. And I realized it was because of the way I was describing Event Finder, like as a system, and people thought like, oh, maybe it's a software, stuff like that. So people didn't understand that what you're doing is you're sending someone an email or you're making a phone call, and sending an email and making a phone call works everywhere. Doesn't matter where you live. And so the reason why people were asking that question is because the way I described it. And the only way I could have figured that out was by putting that out, trying to sell it, then seeing the response people are having to it. So that's essentially what happened. The same thing happened with the Speak Pro Academy when I started the monthly thing. I immediately understood why people asked this question, but people would say like, well, how long does it take before I get on stage? Like, how long does it take before I get a gig? In the beginning, I kid you not, I thought, what a stupid question. Why are people asking me that question? How long does it take? That's like saying, how long does it take before I become a millionaire? The answer is it depends on you. Like, what are you going to personally do? Are you going to wake up and watch Netflix? Or are you going to wake up and actually get to work? So in my mind, I thought that's a stupid question. As more and more people asked, well, really as a second person asked, I realized, oh, the reason why they're asking is because there's that monthly option for the Speak Pro Academy. So what they're trying to figure out is like, can I just join a month and then quit after a month and I already have all the gigs lined up? Can I do that? Can I do that? So I realize that's why people ask that question. So it's like the only way you're going to figure this stuff out is as you do and you pay attention to how people are responding to you. So that's kind of what you're doing when you're building up your audience and selling your expertise. Let's see here. So Amy said, I did a series of 10 videos in 10 days on LinkedIn about tips for creating a growth environment. All right, I had consistent views and offered a complimentary call at the end of the 10 days. Okay, I also posted and boosted the same videos on Facebook and had more than 100 views each day, but only 3 people called in. Only 3 people called in for the call, and they were people I know. I took action, so yeah, but now what? All right, so Amy, so let's see, 10 videos, 10 days on LinkedIn, tips. All right, so Amy, what's the, all right, so you did 10 videos for 10 days. All right, 10 videos for 10 days. I had a growth, consistent views. All right, so the final video, you simply said, give me a call, okay? So one, you got to understand that you didn't do enough in terms of volume. So this is one of the things I talk about with prospecting too, where people don't do enough in terms of volume. So that's why they don't get any sales or the responses they're looking for. So you didn't do enough in terms of volume in terms of promoting it. So that's for one. So when you just post something on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever, that's not going to generate enough volume for you, like ever. You just won't generate enough volume for that. So what you have to do is you got to spend money. That's why I keep talking about spending money. Spend money on ads. You got to spend money on the advertising. So that's probably the first thing that I would look at. Then in terms of 10 days, 10 videos, and the final video is the one where you actually say, give me a call. That's also a big problem because most people aren't going to watch all 10 videos. So you want to just start promoting to begin with. A lot of people are afraid to promote because they're afraid that people are going to call them out. And this actually happens a lot on Facebook ads as well. So like when you start producing Facebook ads, some dummies are going to be like, he's selling something. Like that's literally what people are going to be like. They're going to be like, oh, he's selling stuff, and you're simply thinking like, wow, a business that sells stuff. Wow, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. A business that sells products. Oh my goodness. So you have to think in terms of don't be afraid to sell. Not only to not be afraid to sell, but to be very obvious about it. I constantly talk about Speak Pro Academy. I'm like, hey, join the Speak Pro Academy. I'll say it every single day, and almost every email I'm like, Speak Pro Academy, Speak Pro Academy. I'm not ashamed of selling because I know that people who don't buy are just going to take longer to get the end result. I mean, it's just a fact, right? So it's like you shouldn't be afraid to sell. If you're going to create the 10 videos, every single video you should mention, give me a call, give me a call, give me a call. Every single video you create, you say, give me a call if you want to talk about this. Give me a call if you want to talk, or schedule a call here at this link or whatever. Every single video you say that. You're always promoting nonstop. All right, and so you're constantly doing that. Then you have to think, well, what is the offer? So I don't actually know what your offer is. So you offered a complimentary call, all right, tips for creating a growth environment. All right, so Amy, like you offered a complimentary call on creating a growth environment. What does that mean? So like I'm thinking, what does that even mean? All right, if I say to you, if I say, all right, give me a call and I'm going to show you how to improve your Facebook ads, an idiot, like only an idiot wouldn't be able to understand what that means. Literally only an idiot wouldn't be able to understand what improve your Facebook ads doesn't like means. So you have to think in terms of when you say creating a growth environment, you have to think like, do people even know what that is, like what it means or why it helps them with their business or something like that. So this is one of the things that a lot of speakers have problems with in terms of describing themselves, describing their products, where like especially speakers when they describe themselves and say, I'm the speaker of hope, of visionary hope. And you're like, what? Like, I just want a motivational speaker. So the same thing goes with your product, to where you make the product so simple in terms of how you describe it that only an idiot wouldn't understand what it is. And so that's how you have to think. So that's also the thing is like the offer in terms of creating a growth environment. I think, well, what does that actually mean? And then on top of that, I think, how does that relate to what I'm doing in general? So I'm assuming you're talking about just businesses. So you got to think like, how does that help me with my business? All right. So that's the thing. Amy, what you essentially want to do is you want to build out like a consistent sales process. So your sales process would be very simple. It'd be, all right, here's a free lead magnet. Like, here's this thing for free. So what do they want for free? What does your audience want for free? Then immediately, as soon as they sign up, you immediately offer a phone call with them, a consultation call. Immediately, like pretty much everyone who's joined the Speak Pro Academy, the way you guys joined was there was something for free. I offered you something for free, whether it's a list of leads, a contract, a video. I offered you something for free. After you signed up, you probably got an offer immediately to buy something. Like, you didn't even know who I was. I just said, hey, would you like to buy this $49 program? Would you like to buy this $7 ebook or something? So immediately I offered you something. So that's what you want to do, Amy, is like when they sign up, you immediately say, hey, would you like to jump on a call about this thing that I'm going to help you out with? Once you do that, now you can send them the videos. So they're getting the videos, the 10 videos or however many videos, and then every single video, you mention the call. Every single one. You're like, give me a call, give me a call. So that's kind of what you're doing. All right, so let's see. Lashana said, all right, do you help pro members identify how to find the questions in order to create that? Wait, let me read that again. Do you help pro members identify how to find the questions in order to create the ad? What do you mean how to find the questions? How to find which questions? Yeah, I'm not sure. So basically, with Speak Pro Academy members, we help with everything. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're creating an ad, if you want to get on stages, it doesn't really matter. I help you with everything in terms of Speak Pro Academy members. So we do a call every single week. Every Saturday, we do a phone call. So we actually get on the phone, start talking. We do the Facebook Lives inside of the group. Inside of our Facebook group, we talk every single day. If you have any questions, you can just post inside of the group. We talk every day inside of there. But basically, I help Speak Pro members with everything. Let's see. David said, all right, love what you're saying about learning by doing. I've always thought that it's important to listen to an audience because we serve the market and don't care. Yep, exactly. All right, so let's see. All right, offer to call. All right, so now let me get back. So any other questions, make sure you ask the questions, but I do want to get back to the whole process of selling your expertise. In the beginning, I mentioned intangibles. So what you're doing with the intangibles are like the momentum, the consistency, stuff like that. The other one is productivity. Productivity, I created this thing called OACES. OACES meaning O-A-C-E-S, like O and then ACES, all right? So OACES stands for Outreach, Ads, Content, Emails, Sales Videos, all right? If I'm not doing one of those 5 things, I'm wasting my time. So that's what I think of when it comes to productivity. If you're going to build and monetize an audience, you got to think, what are the things that are going to build and monetize an audience? So if I do outreach in terms of just reaching out, you can do like reach out to JVs or literally like reach out to actually sell your program. Like if you're selling like an online sales training, you can reach out to actual businesses and say, hey, I've got this online sales training program that you guys should be on and stuff like that. So you outreach. A is ads, so you're spending money on advertising, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, all that, Google ads, you're spending money on advertising. C is content, you're creating the videos. E is email, so you're sending out emails every day with the content, sending out emails every day saying, hey, I've got this program you should look into, so you're sending out emails. And then the fifth one is sales videos, where you're strictly focusing on creating like webinars where you're actually selling the product, or Facebook Live where you're talking about the product. I want you to notice that out of those 5 things, only one of them doesn't actually focus on revenue directly. So it's OACES. There's outreach, ads, content, emails, and sales videos. The content is the only one that doesn't focus on the money directly. Outreach focuses on, let me get the money. Ads is, all right, let me get the money. The emails, let me get the money. The sales videos, let me get the money. And the content is the only one that's not about, let me get the money right now. And so this is where it goes back to the beginning, where I said, don't focus on 1 million followers, focus on $1 million. All right. And so if you're going to focus on $1 million, the things that you have to do every single day should be the things that produce revenue inside of your business. All right. Remember, you're building a business, not a following. So that's essentially what you want to focus on when you're actually selling your expertise. Any questions about what you guys should be doing in terms of selling your expertise? I'll wait a couple seconds because I know there's a little delay. But in terms of, let me just go over everything again real quick, maybe while I wait for a couple questions. In order to build your following, you got to focus on the intangibles, like being consistent, like building momentum to kind of get that speed going. You got to focus on the intangibles like that. You got to make sure you're in the right market, the right niche, and you're selling something that people are actually buying. Then you got to think, like, is there a gap in here? Like, what am I pissed off at to where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do something different about this thing. So you're thinking, what am I pissed off at? Or you can just simply outmarket people in the actual market. Then in order to build and monetize, you think of 3 things. How do I capture attention, keep attention, and convert the attention? You capture the attention by building up your audience through ads, spending money on ads. If you're afraid to spend money, you're always going to lose money. You're always going to wonder why you're not growing. So you have to be willing to spend money. In order to keep attention, you focus on, all right, my personality. You're like, hey, I'm so amazing. I'm such an amazing person. Why would people not want to pay attention? So you focus on your personality to keep attention. Then to convert the attention, you simply focus on things like social proof, things like that. All right, so let's see. David said, do you recommend networking sessions? If so, how many and how do you target? So by networking sessions, do you mean like networking with others, like going out to meetups and networking groups? Is that what you mean, David? Any other questions? Make sure you send some questions, type in questions, stuff like that. Oh, I actually meant to go over some questions inside of here. I'll do that another time. All right. So, David, do you mean in terms of networking sessions? All right. So, networking, pointless. All right. Not networking, not pointless, but networking sessions like that, pointless. The reason why they're pointless is because real decision makers, real entrepreneurs, they're not going to those. All right. They're just not there. They're focusing on their actual business. All right. So the people that you really want to connect with, they don't go to those networking meetups. The people who go to those networking meetups are people who are usually like literally just starting out, and they're just like, all right, I just want to kind of be around some entrepreneurs or things like that. So these are just like beginning people. The real entrepreneurs are more focused on things like how I said with productivity. I said there's 5 things. There's outreach, there's ads, there's content, there's emails, and sales videos. If I'm not doing one of those 5 things, I'm wasting my time. Networking is not in there. Networking happens naturally as you grow. Because what happens naturally as you grow is other people want to naturally be around you. So they start sending you emails. Now, everyone's going to send you emails. They'll say like, hey, I want to do business with you, or can we do a JV? Would you be interested in promoting this thing or whatever? So other people say things like that. And then you got to think, all right, where are they at, right? So if Tony Robbins sent me an email saying, hey, I'd be interested in promoting something from you, I'd be like, sure, all right, cool. Yeah, let's do a JV. On the other hand, if almost everyone else said that to me, the answer is no, because it's uneven in terms of what I get, what they get. It's very uneven, right? And so networking events and just networking in general is going to happen naturally as you grow. As you grow, you're going to realize, all right, I'm going to start hanging around with all these other millionaires, multimillionaires. Then maybe we can do something together if we can. If not, whatever, we can still talk, right? So it just happens naturally. The more you grow, you essentially want to think, how can I network with my freaking customers? That's what you want to think. It's like, how do I find the customers and network with them? So let's see. Pam said, as a teacher in CSI, my market is specific to law enforcement, although I'm thinking about reaching out to commercial market. All right, so let's focus on law enforcement. How do you feel about direct mail marketing, or is that old school? To me, direct mail marketing is, it can work, in terms of, I think if you want to do direct mail marketing, you should combine it with online marketing. So the best way is, for example, the free book plus shipping offer type thing. So for example, if you're doing the teaching CSI and you say all right, if you're in law enforcement, I'm going to send you this book for free, and then all you got to do is pay for shipping. And so you're combining direct mail with a Facebook ad. You create a Facebook ad saying, hey, get this book for free. I'll give it to you for free. You just pay for shipping. Or get this T-shirt for free. You just pay for shipping. I actually talked about this with a friend. She does skincare. And we were talking about lead magnets, and I say your best lead magnet are demos, in terms of those little bottles of, lotion or face masks or whatever you're selling with skincare products. I was like, all right, you have those little bottles, and you say, I'm going to send you these bottles for free. All you got to do is pay for shipping. And so what she would combine is a whole direct mail with Facebook ads or YouTube ads or something like that. So you're combining the two. If you just do one of them, so if you just did direct mail, then it's almost like nobody's going to really pay attention unless you do direct mail, where it's the lumpy mail, where it's a freaking, you send something huge and it's wrapped up and it's a huge lump and stuff, and they're like, what is this? They get a big package, they're like, what is this thing? So it'll definitely work if you do that, but usually direct mail is best when you combine the two. That's what you want to do. Any other questions about building and monetizing your audience, selling your expertise, just selling it in general? I do want to point out that your expertise, selling your expertise, is essentially going to come down to the market. So if you have, you can be brilliant in everything. You can be brilliant, amazing at what you do, a great presenter, create amazing content. If you're in the wrong market, then you will always lose. So you have to make sure you're in the right market to begin with. Any questions about what you guys should be doing to sell your expertise? I do want to point out that the most important parts are the intangible parts, like the productivity, the OACES thing that I talked about, the momentum that you're building. Those are the most important parts. So you have to wake up every single day and say, all right, I'm going to produce a video, a video every week. Or, all right, I'm going to do some ads. I'm going to create ads. I'm going to start doing, and you create this momentum. You have to build up that momentum because it gets you energized. And if you stop that momentum, what naturally happens is you just don't feel like doing anything. This happened to me before, to where I was producing stuff, and then all of a sudden, it was with the Facebook ads. It was Facebook ads was working. One day I stopped the Facebook ads because I was like, I can't remember what exactly I was doing. Maybe I was changing the funnel or something. But for some reason, I stopped the Facebook ads. And then every time I would go back and I would say, all right, let me start up the Facebook ads again, I would think about the money I was spending. I was like, oh, you know what? No, I'll just do it tomorrow. And that's what happened. For a whole month, I didn't advertise because I lost that momentum with Facebook ads, and then starting it back up again, it was just, I was like, I just don't feel like it. Just don't feel like it. And eventually I was like, man, this is stupid. Just put up a freaking Facebook ad, right? So you don't want to kill that momentum. The momentum is crucial. Any other questions about what you guys should be doing to build and monetize your audience? Any questions about building and monetizing an audience, selling your expertise? I do want to mention that when you sell your expertise, do not be ashamed to promote what you sell. Do not be ashamed of it. make people jealous. Tell people, like, I haven't even been doing such a good job on making people jealous just because I'm running a different business as well. But if you're going to make people jealous in terms of why they haven't bought your program, just keep promoting other people. That's all you have to do is just promote other people. You're like, hey, this person got this result. Hey, this person got this result. Hey, this person got this result. Eventually, people are going to say, what am I doing? Why haven't I bought this thing? Everyone's getting this result. Like, what am I doing just sitting here, right? And so that's how you're really going to start selling your expertise. Any other questions before we're done here? We're hitting an hour. I'll wait a couple seconds. I'll read a couple of comments. Oh my goodness, Benji, you're amazing. Oh, I love the purple. You have beautiful eyes. Your skin is so amazing. Oh my goodness, you're beautiful again. Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right. So David said, how do you establish value of an online training program? Is there a sweet spot? Ooh, I like that question. So yeah, an online training program. I thought about this for a while, and that an online training program is probably the hardest thing to sell. The reason is because people kind of know that they don't want to just sit down at their computer and watch these videos, and they know that they're probably not going to do that. So it's really, really hard to sell. The easiest thing to sell is like workshops, like a live event. Those are the easiest things. Well, I mean, it's not easy, but those are the things that people really love in terms of actually buying. So if you're going to sell an online training program, obviously the hardest part is like, how do I build enough value to the point where people say, I'm going to buy this thing? And then the way you do that is kind of what I mentioned with the social proof, where you say, look at the results this person got. This person got these results, so why haven't you bought the program? Then you're like, look at the results this person got. They got results. Why haven't you bought the program? Now, in the beginning, you don't really have that, right? So you don't have the social proof. You can't talk about, like, I can talk about how Dave did $250,000, almost $250,000 with the Speak Pro Academy. I can talk about that. I can talk about how Bob did his first 10K gig plus travel with the Speak Pro Academy. George, 10K. I can talk about all these guys. In the beginning, I didn't have all these guys. I just had me. So I was just like, hey, guys, this is how I got a $10,000 gig. Hey, guys, here's how I got a $20,000 gig. Hey, guys, here's how I got international gigs. So that's what I was doing in the beginning. And so that's kind of how you're building value with your program. If your program isn't selling, then it's either because you're not describing it right, so you think you are, but you're not. And so I kind of mentioned this earlier, where what I did with the lead generation, where I figured, you know what, speakers want leads, let me create a program with this, and nobody bought the thing. It was because I didn't describe it right. So if your program isn't selling, it's because you're not describing it right, it's not clear. This is probably where I see a lot of people go wrong just from the very get-go. Like what I mentioned earlier, like Amy, where I say you got to change that, like what you say about creating a growth environment, because no one knows what that, like people, I mean, I can think about what it actually means, but it's not insanely obvious. Like I can easily misconstrue what it actually is, versus if I say, here's a program on how to do Facebook ads, only an idiot would not understand what that is. And so you're probably not describing it right if it's not selling. And then you got to think in terms of volume. Like, are you actually talking with enough people? Are your ads reaching enough people? Are enough people signing up to your list? Are you sending out enough emails and all the content? So are you doing enough to begin with? And then once you have those two parts, then it's a matter of that social proof of you got to answer those questions where, did it work for you? Who else has it worked for? And do I think it's going to work for me? And the way you essentially answer those is with the social proof. That's kind of what you're doing to build the value. All right. So Amy said, what are your thoughts about including one-line comments from people who have heard you speak, where they say something they learned or liked, but just using their first name and last initial when you're promoting your speaking? Yeah, I mean, like if you're gonna put that on your website in terms of just putting up a testimonial, it doesn't really matter in terms of putting their name, however you want to put the name. What you're essentially thinking with testimonials is, first you want to think about who this person is. All right. So like if you get a testimonial from Oprah, that testimonial is better than a testimonial from a random person. It doesn't even matter if this random person's like, I made $2 billion. Oprah's testimonial will have a bigger impact. If Oprah's like, it's pretty good. Like her testimonial will have a bigger impact. than a random person's testimonial. So first you focus on who this person is, then you focus on their title. So let's say you can't get Oprah, then you think, all right, maybe the CEO of this company. So now the CEO, their testimonial matters a lot more than a random person. And so the random person is essentially the very last person, the last testimonial you want to put on your site. But, I mean, you can still put it on there in terms of just having it there. You have to understand that people are skeptical as hell. Like, when they see a written testimonial, people don't really believe it all that much anymore. Because people know that you're not going to put a testimonial on your website that says, this program was a piece of crap, I didn't get any results from it. Nobody will ever put a testimonial like that on their website. So people know this. And so they also know that you could possibly write that testimonial yourself. Like I could literally just go on my website right now and type in, you know what, Benji Bruce is the most amazing speaker in the world, Oprah. Benji Bruce just killed it at our event, Microsoft. Benji Bruce was insane, Apple. I can just make stuff up. Like, people know you can do that. On the other hand, if you actually see a video of Oprah, or you see a video of Aflac or AAA or Remax, if you see a video of it, now people can't be skeptical of it. They can't be skeptical at all. So that's going to have a more persuasive value to it rather than just a written testimonial. But when it comes to things like that, you got to think in terms of there's the strategies and the tactics and the techniques. Then there's the big overall strategy and the overall vision that you should be thinking about and focusing on. Things like the testimonial, those are small things that you don't need to worry about until you understand the big and the big strategy that you're going to actually implement. So the big strategy is why a lot of people talk about sales funnels, right? They're like, build out a sales funnel. Because when you understand the big strategy, you're like, all right, I'm going to create an ad. The ad's going to go to a thank you page where we do an offer. Then after that, we're going to put them through this automation. There's going to be a series of these emails, the case study emails. Then we're going to offer the program. After that, they're going to go into the broadcast emails where we're going to do this, and you have this overall strategy. That's kind of what you're focusing on. Once you have the overall strategy and you know the strategy works, now you focus on the small details of like, what am I going to write in this email subject line? What am I going to write in this testimonial? And so now you focus on these little tactics and techniques with things like that. So that's kind of how you want to think about what it is you're doing. Any other questions about building and monetizing an audience and selling your expertise? There's like a ton that I've talked about inside of this video, but essentially just think in terms of there's the intangibles like building momentum that you want to focus on, the mindset type thing. Then you got to capture, keep, and convert attention. And then you got to focus on making sure you're productive with things like the OACES thing that I talked about. And you figure it out as you go, because it's literally impossible to sit down and just know the answers right now. You figure it out as you go. All right. We are good to go on this Facebook Live. So thanks everybody for showing up. I will see you guys soon. Make sure you join the Speak Pro Academy if you want me to help you out building your business, getting on stages, selling your programs. SpeakProAcademy.com. I will see you guys in a few days. Take care.